So this is a question I get more than any other question on this channel. And I've done some videos to cover the topic before, like my one big sub versus two small subs and all that stuff. But I wanted to make a video specifically on the importance of going duals. And I'm actually going to have a bit of a mic drop at the end that I think really hammers it home. And I think the question isn't whether it's better, but how important it is to go with dual subs. Now, Swiss cheese bass is a term I use to describe what I heard when I went back to a single. And it's really hard to explain because you don't know what you don't know. But with a single sub, there was missing elements to it. So I went to duals, and then for about a week I went back to a single. Okay, and then I was missing little things, little bits of bass were missing. And then when I got duals, they were back. Okay, and it was like these little holes in the response. It was either gone or just muted. And it was a really hard thing to explain. So I came up with the term of Swiss cheese bass to explain it. And it's a lot easier to identify Swiss cheese bass when you're going backwards. So after you've listened to duals for a while and you've listened to some familiar content, you can switch over, you can turn one sub off and then listen for those little bits of missing bass. And that's how I came up with the term for that, because it's really odd to me. It's just like, well, I know there's something usually there. And again, you don't know what you don't know. So if you're missing it and you don't know you're missing it, it's hard to identify. When I first heard dual subs, I expected it to be better, of course. I think that's kind of settled. Like, everyone knows duals are better. Okay, and this was back before I became an SVS affiliate, and it was with their PB-1000s. And it's funny because, that's a 10-inch driver that I'm really quite fond of. It goes deeper than most 15s out there. It has a much deeper presentation. But, not all of the benefits can be measured with duals. A lot of the response I got from people that came over and listened was, this sounds just more like a theater. And they couldn't really articulate it. It just felt more like a theater. It was just more impactful. It was just better in a way that even I can't really quite describe, and I've been doing this for a while. It's not anything I can actually measure. Obviously you get a little bit more output, so you get a little bit more headroom and things like that, but all of the benefits aren't quite measurable, and I didn't understand how important it was. My assumption before hearing it was that it was an audiophile thing, okay? Better, but, probably not substantially. It's something people with a lot of money can do. It's not super important. And that was my opinion of it, okay? Power and depth of presentation are really important to me. You have to have the power to back up the bass, and you have to have the depth of presentation to deliver the bass that everyone, whether they know it or not, wants to hear. So those things are important, the power and the depth of presentation. But that said, if you're looking at any subwoofer on the list, I would split your budget rather than getting one, okay? And that may sound like a compromise. My own instinct, back before I started this channel, my own instinct was to get the biggest possible subwoofer I could afford. It makes sense. It makes sense in your mind that that's what you want. You want this big bass sound. Obviously, get the biggest subwoofer you can afford, which makes sense so long as you can get duals. If you're going with a single, honestly, split your budget. I'm fortunate. I'm able to listen to some of the best subwoofers on the planet. Okay, the PB-16 Ultras here, they dig so deep, and the impact is like nothing I've ever heard. It's an undeniable departure from the norm. If you were to, if you've never heard bass like this and you go and you hear it somewhere, you wouldn't be able to say, well, yeah, it's just like everything else. No way. You couldn't possibly say that. It is really a departure. It's amazing. Okay. I think the PB-16 Ultras are very near bass perfection, if there is such a thing. Bass is always difficult. I started a whole channel on it. But the PB-16 Ultras are just absolutely amazing. They're delicate when they're supposed to be delicate, and they kick you in the chest when they're supposed to kick you in the chest. I love them. So I don't want that to be misconstrued. But because when they first came out, they were only able to send out one sub, okay? So for about 2 months, I only had a single PB-16 Ultra. I still had dual PB-2000s at the time. And I tried to integrate the three to play well together, and I just couldn't get it to where it sounded the way I wanted. I wasn't satisfied running all three together. If they were all three the same sub, it'd be no problem, but I think it was the difference in driver size or whatever it was caused some weird cancellations, and I just didn't, it wasn't good. And that's neither of the subs' fault. I mean, the PB-2000s are, you know, one of my favorite subwoofers. I recommend them more than anything else, okay? So I kind of had a choice. I could either run the dual PB-2000s I had over in the corner, or I could run the single PB-16 Ultra. SVS may not be thrilled to hear this, but I think it illustrates the point I'm trying to make. I turned off the flagship PB-16 Ultra in favor of the dual PB-2000s, okay? Now I need to reiterate, the PB-16 Ultra is undeniably better, okay? More power, just a better sub all the way around. But the dual PB-2000s were more complete than a single PB-16 Ultra. And I think that's the mic drop. That is the thing I'm trying to punctuate more than anything else, is that I understand the desire to go with the biggest, baddest possible sub you can get. But really, if you can split your budget and still stay within something on the list of subwoofers here that I have, it's going to be a dramatic departure over anything that you're probably used to at that point, you know. And I'm really a big fan of going matched. I actually brought out the VTF-15 and to match to the PB-16 Ultra, and it was a little bit better, but truly the magic happened when I got the second PB-16 Ultra. That's when everything came together, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is what these subs can really do. It was the game changer when I went to match duals. So I'm a big fan of match subs. You know, it's important. I think it just, everything just comes together so much nicer, and it's just, you really hear everything that the sub can truly do. I will not review any subwoofer anymore on this channel unless they're duals. I've kept that rule from the beginning, and it's going to stay, because I can't hear everything unless I can hear both subs, because they bring together the sound. They reduce that standing wave effect, and you can just hear everything. You can't hear everything with just a single sub. It's just, you can get close, but there's just a difference, and plus there's the difference that's not even measurable that I talked about earlier. That I can't describe fully, but it's just so much better. And also, I've had this question a lot. Some people say, well, I live in an apartment, I can't have duals. If I moved into an apartment, I would still have dual subwoofers without hesitation. With a single sub, you get that standing wave effect, so you get some stuff you can't hear. But here's the thing, your neighbors still can. So you may be trying to turn it up to hear something, and because you're in a dead spot in the room because of the single subwoofer, your neighbor's hearing it loud and clear, but you can't hear it. And that's the standing wave effect, and there's nothing you can do. It doesn't matter how big the sub is, it's not going to be able to knock down that standing wave on its own. You need a second sub. And I'm going to try and get a visualization of this going in the future. I really want to do that, but anyway, if I gave you the link to this video, it's because I understand the logic. You know, a $2,500 sub should do better than two $800 subs, but dual subs make that much of a difference. And like I said, so long as you stick to the subwoofers on the list, duals are 100% the way to go. And another point to that is, if I wouldn't be willing to live with a subwoofer myself, given all the different subwoofers I've heard so far, it will not be on the list, okay? I still think the PB-1000s are the smartest buy in bass. You know, it's the only 10-inch sub you'll find on the list, but they have a deeper presentation than most 15-inch subs. Plus, you still have the 1-year trade-up period, and that gives you some wiggle room if you get the upgrade-itis that is known to, you know, happen in this industry. You get that itch to upgrade, and You know, if you can only afford dual PB-1000s, you can upgrade to anything better in the SVS line. The only thing you pay is shipping. Otherwise, you know, it's the only time the SVS asks you to pay for shipping. Otherwise, it's always free shipping. But so if you spent, I think it's $950 for dual PB-1000s, within a year you could apply that full $950 less shipping towards PB-2000s or anything better within the SVS line. So it really, that's why I consider it the smartest buy in bass, because you're getting into dual subs, you're getting into really great performing bass, and if you have the itch to upgrade, you can. You know, but I've had a lot of people tell me that there's no reason I would ever need anything more than PB-1000s, and I understand their point. They really are impressive. If they weren't, they wouldn't be on the list. And to that point, I will be adding 3 more subwoofers to the list very soon, so stay tuned for that. But hopefully this helps you decide on whether you should go dual. I honestly hope that I never go back to a single. I've done it twice now. I didn't like it either time. I wanted duals back. It's that important. And so if you're watching this video and you have dual subs and you understand what I'm talking about, please sound off in the comments below. You know, this is a really big step for some people. In my opinion, only goes so far. You know, I can say all this and that's fine and dandy, but if I've got people down in the comments backing me up on this, I think it'll really help some people make that step. So anyway, guys, looks like Angel's done with the video, and so am I. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe.